Hey everybody, this is Kody Bateman. Welcome to our weekly relationship marketing show here. I've got a very special guest to introduce you to here in just a second. We're very excited about today's show and hopefully be able to provide you with some information that will help you in your business and in your personal life. Today we have a best-selling author and speaker and trainer. This guy goes all over the world. His name is Tony Rubleski. And let me share with you a little bit about what this guy does and where he's been. He's, as I mentioned, international best-selling author and speaker. He's the creator of the best-selling series called Mind Capture. It's a book series. I have the latest book here, the Mind Capture. And he travels all over. He's been on a lot of different shows, featured in various media outlets, ranging from Toastmasters Magazine to Detroit Free Press, Fox TV Network, ABC to CNN Radio, NPR, and Entrepreneurial Magazine Radio, not to mention many, many others. Also travels all over the world, speaks to corporate audiences everywhere on the subject of connection, mind capture, personal development principles, referral marketing. So been there, done that guy, a gentleman, a true gentleman, a great guy to learn from. Tony, welcome to our show today.
Well, Kody, thank you. It's an honor to be here. And like we talked before, I think I met you about 10 years ago. And I've seen you speak and train and a big fan of what you've done. And congrats on the growth. You guys are really rocking over there.
Thank you. I really appreciate that very much. Today, what we want to do, Tony, hopefully you and I'm just going to ask you some questions and let you do your magic with our listeners today. One of the things, first of all, the series Mind Capture is really good. Your first two books are more how-to books on, basically how to build a business, make connection with people, everything from marketing principles, referral marketing, just really good content, how-to kind of stuff in your first two books. And then this one is more personal development. This is the get your mind right so that you can be successful implementing what you taught in the first two books. So Mind Capture, by the way, look at the forward there by Kody Bateman. I'm honored to be able to write this book and appreciate all the teachings that you've given us. One of the things that really resonate with your name, at least in my mind, whenever I hear your name, I automatically, for some reason, I think of the word connection. You use the word connection a lot. You talk about connection a lot. And in today's fast-paced world, it's harder and harder to make connection because there's so much competing for our attention. I'd like to start out by having you talk to us a little bit. How do we make connection with people in this crazy world of ours today?
Well, Kody, thank you. And it's not an easy answer, but let me give you a few clues that I believe, working with clients over the world and still learning. We're hit with 5,000 to 6,000 marketing messages per day in North America. And those numbers, as I've been tracking it for 10, 12 years, keep getting higher and higher. Everyone's got a cell phone. These things are going off. It's a tool, but it also can be a great distraction device. Social media, if you've got kids like I do, Kody, Snapchat, social media, it's everywhere. So what I try to say is, look, you haven't got much time. The whole premise of Mind Capture, what I teach over the world, is how do you get attention quickly in a world with too many choices and demands placed on people's time? So what I love about our time together and getting to know you for over a decade is you've got a great, great tool that connects quickly, is memorable, and people actually keep. So as a Mind Capture guy, as a marketing geek, you've got an ace in the hole of a service that people love. They talk about it. I use the service for over a decade. I keep cards that people send me, the gifts that I've sent, the gifts that I receive. You have something very unique there. So as we talk more about connection today, I'm a true believer. You look at my walls here. I've got some of your cards from people that have sent me cards. I'm pointing to them, the Superman jersey there. But, we've got different things that people, they hold on to. You don't delete a card.
Yeah.
I know other people have said this, but in the age of digital, high touch wins. Let me come right after everyone that's given us their valuable time today. In the age of digital, high touch still wins. So things like greeting cards, gifts, a phone call, those connection points are very, very relevant in an age of texting, Snapchatting, especially with teenagers where it's so much noise that people don't remember unless it's different. That's why we're here today.
So you talk a lot about creating genuine connection in the offline world and in the online world, creating authenticity online as well as offline. Obviously, on our shows, we talk a lot about offline because that's what we are. We're an offline mechanism, greeting cards and gifts, and very, very effective. Tell us a little bit, just give us some little bit of your online strategies maybe that you ask people to do to make connection.
That's a great question. Online is sort of to me like the Wild West. And what I mean is the attention spans are shorter. You're moving through a Facebook news feed and Instagram, you're up against millions of pictures. You got people that are on the bus, maybe they're on a lunch break, maybe they're in an airplane, they're checking their social media. It's a shorter duration. I almost call it reminder marketing, that you're sort of there. And to trace it, the metrics are getting easier with Facebook marketing and Instagram marketing, but it's still, for most businesses, very foreign. It's like the Wild West. I believe you have to be there. You can't ignore the digital place of where we're going. I still believe, though, there's a couple foundations that have to work in tandem, Kody. And for everyone that's listening, you have to have a good customer list or a list of relationships for contacts, however you define that. And you have to use a lot of offline technique, and I wouldn't say technique, but tools to stay in front of them. Relationship builders, connection points, as we talk about, because those things stand out in the sea of digital noise. We hit with the 5,000 to 6,000 ads. On top of it, we're hit with 50 to 60,000 self-talk conversations in our head each day. Most of them are very systematically programmed. They're negative in nature. Unless you're around personal development, you override that. And you have these same thoughts or voices in your head like everybody else. It's noisy. So when you look at online and offline to work them in tandem, it's very effective to layer together. You can't really, I believe, if you're going to stand out for many years, not have both working for you, because people expect you to be on social media. Before they ever reach out to you, they usually Google you. That's just the world we're in. If you're under 35, you're a millennial. Millennials have been raised on digital. What's fascinating is when you send them a greeting card or you do something offline, how they respond. They're like, what is this? Yeah. And typically it's more shocking. It gets more attention because they're not raised on that. They're what we call digital natives. So I enjoy positive disruption, Kody. When you use both in tandem, it gets fun. People enjoy it. They look forward to your communication, not just, hey, it's what does Tony want or what does Kody want? They actually hold on to those things because it's so unique. It's so different.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. We've talked on this show before about kind of the cycles in the marketplace when Facebook and other social media vehicles got really big 5, 6, 7 years ago. Everyone started getting on Facebook and getting their profiles and making comments and making posts. It had a negative effect on our business for a while. We're in the offline greeting card gift business. So when that first came out, it had a negative effect for a while, because why do I need to send a birthday greeting card when I can just say post happy birthday online? Yeah. Here's what's interesting, though, because now it's kind of come full circle. Now there's so much online that a comment, hey, oh, by the way, Tony, happy birthday, I commented on somebody else's post. It's not enough. That's not enough. That's just an afterthought. It's too easy. So we've noticed that now the trend is coming back to offline principles. And I know that you got to be seeing that as you counsel with a lot of your different clients out there.
Absolutely. And Kody, it's so new that to get metrics, it keeps changing. And the big companies, the Facebooks, the LinkedIns, the Instagrams, they keep changing the metrics of how they're tracking it. You can do targeted ads, but you're like throwing almost a pebble into a lake, and you're hoping that a few people catch the ripple. What's unique is what I call that one-to-one component of offline marketing. Obviously, we're here to talk about send-out cards. I'm a true believer. I've used it successfully for a decade. I've recommended it from stages for just as long, written about it, as you know, because it works. It's one of the few mediums, especially now what's beautiful is you can take social media and marry it over to the pictures and comments and create a card. So, now you've got more access to photos. You've got people's LinkedIn profiles. You see what groups they're a part of, what hobbies they're into, and you can make a very unique, memorable custom card. You can tie it in with a gift that's of their interest, of what they're into, and people talk about that. You and I know, Kody, I get thank you cards and thank you calls for cards I send them as a thank you. It's like the thank you exchange. And I want to show you this because I did some homework before our call. This is a card that I got from a friend of mine that was the former head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a thank you card the year he won the Stanley Cup as a head coach, 2009, Dan Bilesma. And this started because I sent him, when he got named February that year, head coach, a send-out card saying, congratulations, Dan, we're proud of you taking over. I didn't know he'd send me back a handwritten thank you note after he won the Stanley Cup for the card I sent him.
Wow.
So this is on my wall. My kids are like, we want it. I'm like, no, that's Dad's, okay? But I'm a hockey fan, but that connection to the card, I couldn't have foreseen a thank you card back from a guy that won the Stanley Cup as a rookie head coach, sending me a thank you card. There's the Pittsburgh Penguins logo. So I look at this and go, those stories, those connection points, even with the busiest people you can imagine, it always touches the heart. And Kody, I've seen you train on promptings. I've read your book. I've been to your day events. They work. And it helps fine tune so people go, okay, I'm not really sure greeting cards, what's the impact, or a gift. But once they get the mind tuned up and the heart connected, watch out, because I've got all sorts of cards people send me that I send out as well. And it just gets mind capture. And you would think year after year on the stage, when I write about this, that it would get old, but actually it becomes more relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't ask me to say this. Okay, I don't get any kickback from send out cards. The service stands out on its own. That's why 10 years ago I said, all right, we're going to take a leap of faith here. This company is going to keep growing and growing. You see it. It helps everybody across the board. You can put your name on it. Go.
Boy, that's great stuff. So recently you were in Salt Lake City and you were speaking at a RE/MAX event, and you do a lot with RE/MAX. Like you speak at corporate events all over the world, and one of your big clients is RE/MAX, and you were there actually talking about referrals, getting referrals. Could you just share a little bit with us what you teach at some of your events on how to generate referral business? That's always a big interest for our listeners.
Well, thank you, Kody. I'll take a 90-minute seminar and try to give you one or two high points here. So thank you for this.
7 seconds, so go.
No pressure. That's why the Superman cape is ready. You look at this, a couple things I really hammer home on referral magic. That's a session I teach to a lot of groups, and obviously RE/MAX, of course. But first thing is always be thinking, when you do a good job, think of other people that your clients can introduce you to. So let me give you one word of value here as this goes out over the globe into the Mind Capture Nation, which will watch this. I teach this for a long time. Instead of asking for referrals or earning them, there's two schools of thought. You ask for introductions. And you had Ivan Meisner in a couple weeks ago, who I've met and has endorsed my work. He's in the same book that you did the forward. And Ivan and I agree on many, many things. I digress a little bit and share a proactive way to ask for referrals. I call them introductions. So if you do a good job, you've earned the right, I believe, to say, hey, who are a couple people in your network or part of your church group that you could maybe introduce me to that I could possibly do the same thing for? Your language.
Right.
It's not pushy. It's a direct ask, A-S-K, to someone that knows, likes, and trusts you. And if you've done a good job and you've earned the ask, many times they'll respond with, hey, you know what's funny, you should ask Tony. A friend of ours in the church PTA has been thinking about buying or selling a home or getting a second home. So many times it's a little controversial because I'm more proactive with that if you've earned the opportunity. So language is everything, Kody. It doesn't have to be pushy. I never teach pushy techniques anywhere. We're too smart for that, and that's not how I roll. And also, language. So instead of asking for a referral, we couldn't market the session Introduction Magic. No one would show up.
Right.
But a one-word language shift, introduction versus referral, has a different effect if it's done properly. So that's one key area. The second thing I hit on heavily, there's about 20 minutes of that session all about how to properly follow up. Gee, take a wonder who was in there, okay? I show send-out cards. I talk about it. I don't know how many folks have looked at the site because I just say, go to sendoutcards.com, and, I don't get any, referral fee. I use it. Go ahead. People write it down. They type it in their phone, and they're off. So I look at it as just a straight standalone service with the follow-up that I teach in Referral Magic. You got to have this in play. And some people raise their hands. It's funny when survey says, how many of you have heard of send-out cards? Some cities you get like half the hands. How many of you use it? Maybe like 1 out of 20 or 30 if you look at around the room. So there's still a wide open market that don't know about send-out cards. And some in the room probably aren't going to raise their hand because they're like, look, this works too good. We don't want the secret out. So as far as your marketing component, the referrals, effective follow-up is key. I teach the fortune is in the follow-up. Okay, I've been saying that for a long time. And that fortune is relationships, referrals, and repeat business. Those 3 R's come from effective follow-up. So few people do it well, Kody. It's not a criticism. That's why I'm in business. Okay, people are like, how do I follow up more effectively? And there's not enough lifetimes of you and I teaching relationship marketing to teach people how to follow up. Some get it, some don't, and some are still new to this. It's like, oh, I was not aware of this. So it's fun as a teacher to get the privilege and the honor to share and teach all over the world these types of tools and really connection builders that people don't know about. Right. And some people might say, well, everyone's heard of send-out cards. You would be surprised how many have not.
That's right.
That's good news.
So you tell an interesting story. You had the chance to meet Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy, and interesting interaction there. Could you share with us that story? I think there's a great lesson. You learned some things out of that. So if you could share that with us, that'd be great.
Well, thank you, Kody. Again, we talk about this in the book, and thank you for mentioning that in the new book, the anniversary edition. I had a chance in 2008 in Los Angeles to meet Jeff Bezos at Book Expo America. He founded Amazon. So if you look at someone that can give you advice, I always have a rule: when a billionaire speaks, Tony listens.
That's right.
So I was fortunate to sit in the front row with my pen and paper handy. I know that's old school. I didn't have my phone on me, but I watched him give a keynote the day they launched Kindle to the world. So it was that Forrest Gump moment where I was kind of in the right place, right time, right room, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Little did I know, almost 10 years later, Kody, that Kindle would be a huge product for them. So when you see a billionaire, it's like watching a TED Talk. Many of your viewers have seen a TED Talk. This guy was good. He had an entourage. I mean, he's got all these handlers and security. And I had a chance to take a photo with him real quick and say, hey, Jeff, I like working with you. Keep up the great work. So that was kind of fun to get that 2 seconds with him, that connection, and watch him give this world-class presentation. But I remember, and here's the point of what he said at the end. I'm going to paraphrase this. He said, I know many of you in the audience are authors. Some of you are my competitors. Some of you are with the press corps here at Book Expo. I want to give you one piece of advice. And here's what he said point blank. He said, sometimes you have to be willing to be misunderstood. Let me repeat it for everybody listening. He said, sometimes you have to be willing to be misunderstood. Here's why I wanted to bring that up if it came up in our questions today. Folks, this may seem really old school, unconventional. You may misunderstand initially when you look at a greeting card, the power of it, and go, I don't really know. All I can tell you is send a few cards and watch what happens. You may misunderstand your own thought process that everything you believe you've been hearing is going this way. It is to an extent. However, physical will not go away. Matter of fact, some of my mentors, the best in the world, you, Kody, Dan Kennedy's, I could name drop all day long of the fly in the wall rooms I'm in. Direct mail is still very effective when it's done properly. And you may hear that direct mail is going away. It's changing. It's changing. Connection never stops. Techniques may change. Getting people to do commerce, the tools have changed. We have digital now. We have online, offline. But if you make a connection and you use offline, you have a much more higher chance of getting mind capture. Best products and services ideas fail because no one pays attention. If you want to connect and get attention, these things we're sharing, these things that we use, that you, Kody, have started with send-out card that I use as a product of the product, they work. And sometimes people just don't want to see that. So sometimes you're going to have to be willing to be misunderstood. And once you try it, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I had to rethink my old preconceived notions.
Wow. Boy, we sure appreciate the incredible stories, words of wisdom that you've shared with us today. As we close out our show today, any final words of counsel, wisdom, anything you would like for us to learn from you? Go ahead.
Well, Kody, again, thank you for the opportunity, and everyone that's been paying attention, thank you for the gift of your time and attention. But if anything, you've got to keep doing things a little bit unconventional. So offline marketing is not going away. Build relationships, not transactions. That's my final piece of advice. Again, you want to think relationships for life, not just transactions. Because when economies go up and down, especially when they're down, that's where relationships really show through. Right now, the economy's humming along pretty good. But when we have those downturns, that's where you know if your relationships are solid or you had transactions. So, Kody, with that, thank you again. I appreciate all you've been doing to promote relationships.
Well, thank you, Tony. Appreciate all that you do, and continue to keep on doing what you're doing out there, brother. Appreciate everything. Thank you all for attending today, being a part of this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on one of our next shows coming up. Take care, everybody, now. God bless.